Schmidt.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now roll tide.
And Mark Cranack.
Time has come for someone to put his foot down. And that foot is me.
Welcome to it, weekend editions here. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt and Mark Cranack. Mark, if you look at the nameplate, the icon, Mark, a journalist is it's what's up on the screen. Can always watch the show, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio, and find us on KFOR Facebook, KFOR Twitter. Chris Schmidt, Mark Cranack, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark, as we get you set for meaningful November football round 2. Maryland is in. The buses have been heated up. I got here about 6:30. We're down here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and P. We love being away at our home away from home. A few folks are in line here. Brian and his Husker family down here saying hi. They love listening to the show. We appreciate them. They've been through the buffet line. And Cranack, it smells wonderful. The windows were open a little bit. The setup here at the Single Barrel has some in the Graduate has some of those garage doors that can open up, so you get some not only some natural sound but some wonderful brisk morning air. And in the lobby, Coach Loxley and Coach Sumlin and a few of the high wire act Maryland Terrapins that no doubt will stress the Nebraska defense today, possibly, and that attacking Maryland defense. How are you, Cranack? I mean, it's been a week. You had us in stitches with the militia thoughts a week ago in Michigan. We got out alive, although Elijah didn't lose a tire. And we're set to go. Connor Clark needs a little. Yeah. Connor needs a little bit more Pedialyte because our man got home, showing some friends in town around O Street and beyond. Oh, you got it.
Shout-outs, of course.
He got in about 2:30 or 3 a.m., and he's up and ready to go for this morning.
Ooh, let's go, guys.
That is some next-level stuff, Connor.
We've all been there. We've all been there, right?
Look.
Maybe some of us today.
The mindset is, look, I'm 21 years old. I have enough energy to do this. I have to do it. Let's go. It's Saturday. Big game today. How could you not be wired for it? So here we are, and let's do this thing. Come on.
Wow. But that is not Pedialyte. That looks like Rockstar, Monster,
no,
Celsius.
It is a
Bubbler,
Celsius apple pear flavored energy drink. So we are thriving.
Excellent. Have you all seen the adult? Have you seen the adult Pedialyte, Gatorlyte? Have you guys had that yet?
I've not. No,
I have not.
I have had that.
It is in like a cube bottle. It's legit. Yep. It's like it's adult Pedialyte. And, like, you don't have to feel bad about drinking it out amongst, the public. You can drink Pedialyte at home the whole time. But if you're just walking around chugging some Pedialyte, people are going to have questions, and you just don't want to give them that fodder.
You guys got to hop on the liquid IVs.
Done that.
I don't like
got
those.
some.
You don't like those? See,
no.
The key on a Saturday morning such as this, crack open the liquid IV packet, pour that into your water, and then you get the Mio energy ones, the little Mio that's got caffeine in there, which are very dangerous on a Friday night as well. If you want to go about it that way. You want to mix them? If you want to mix it that way, the energy it makes it like an original Four Loko. But on the flip side, on a Saturday morning, whenever you're recovering and trying to get ready for an 11 a.m. Huskers start, the Mio with the energy, the liquid IV refuels you, replenishes you, gets you going with the energy. That's the way to go.
Yeah, a little meth up in there. You're good. You're good.
Don't do meth, kids. It's the weekend edition Hail Varsity here at the Single Barrel. You're invited down. We're here 7 to 9. Real Red Reaction follows probably 2:30 for Nebraska-Maryland. Congrats to Michael. He's bringing his boys to the Nebraska game for the first time, their first time, so that'll be outstanding. Cranack, you're bringing the little man down a little bit later. He is good luck. You are good luck. The last time Nebraska won, there were 2 Cranacks in the stadium.
Yeah, it helps. It helps. He's coming. He'll be ready to take his shirt off and swing it around if needed from up in the East Stadium expansion. But, man, he's in for one today, though. He knows Maryland's good. He knows they can throw it. He's a little nervous about Tagovailoa, but, hey, aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yeah, and let's look at this setup today for a moment. And, Rule has kind of laid out verbally and through practice just what this journey is for 2023.
Okay, we can't say journey. New rule. I'm
What?
sorry. We just got to cut that off. It's kind of like on LinkedIn. You get on LinkedIn much? Some of
No.
you have. Oh, you probably don't as much. People overuse that word, journey. It's kind of like in The Bachelor. They overuse it in The Bachelor too, right?
Okay,
Let me seriously.
I don't watch that show, but
I don't
would you
either. But I've
would you
had
disagree
to by
with me.
accident.
But that this season's not a journey. I mean, when you look at how it started to where it's at right now, and you're in week 2 in November, and you're still
Can
on
we
the
go
doorstep of
voyage?
postseason.
Can we go with voyage or expedition?
Marathon?
Something. Yeah, right. Because listen, specifically,
Same thing.
No, it's not. Specifically, when it's journey, that's reserved for like Clarissa on The Bachelor, who's with Aiden, and she's been with him for a week, and they're on a journey together, and it's okay. Right. And then it's also on
Aiden
LinkedIn.
has 7 baby mamas and has 0 intent on child support. Move on. Next case.
I thought Mark was going to come at this from the angle of like the journey copyrighted by Big Ten Network with their late night documentaries that you always see after the volleyball match ends.
And we know they're all about legal battles in November. So
I know. Listen, and then Elijah, I mean, your group, like your age group, you're 23, 24, right? So you are perfectly in the age. You're definitely at the age where a lot of your contemporaries, not always female, but mainly, right? Listen, I'm telling you, on LinkedIn, you're a week away from one of them saying something about, I am so excited about starting a new position at blah, 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 as I continue on this journey.
Yeah.
And it's like, girl, you just got a marketing coordinator job. Like, you're 24. You're all right. Like, it's not you're not Merriweather over here, right? You're not.
Just for you, Mark, on my next LinkedIn post, I will make sure that I use the word journey and I will put it in all caps.
Be excited for this next chapter in your journey, right? Like, it'll be so good. Be like, wow, this guy's a damn explorer.
The extent of my LinkedIn usage is I go accept the network requests, even from people I don't know. I go, oh yeah, sure, you're part of my network. This could come in handy someday. And then I like one post every month just to keep myself active on there.
Yeah.
And then
that's been your journey, huh? On
my
there?
profile picture is ready to work or whatever it says, open to work.
Yes. Too. Look at that.
I love
it.
Chris, that means he's looking to get the hell out of Dodge.
No, that's not true.
I'm sure he is.
That's just me showing everybody, hey, this guy works.
You do.
That's been your journey. That has been your journey so far.
Back to Nebraska's
no question
trek in 2023. Nebraska's trek. You've seen kind of the ebbs and flows of this path they've been on, and Michigan State was another lesson, right? A tough lesson with opportunity, with pressure. You hear coaches talk about the privilege of pressure, and Rule makes everything a learning experience, guys, not to get too psychobabble, but to me, that's what today's about. Yeah, Maryland's obviously talented. They're high flying. They're explosive. They're good. They're the second best and most athletic team you're going to see and face this season since Michigan. How do you adapt and how do you adjust on the field, but how do you adapt and adjust to the moment? And Nebraska didn't really handle that well last Saturday when we look about how tight they were and how flat they looked, and they were afraid to lose. There was a little bit of fear to them, or at least they didn't look like their normal selves.
That's the sense you got watching it, was afraid to lose.
I'm
not calling you out on it. I'm saying when you're in person, though, you get different senses than you do on television. And
I think is
that kind of your takeaway?
They all looked a little step slow and they looked hesitant. Off on that?
No,
I think that's about right.
I think you're talking about how Rule teaches a lot of lessons. Well, I think they got taught a very important one on last Saturday, in the fact that nothing's easy, right? Especially in this conference. I mean, not to say that this team was overlooking Michigan State per se, but on paper, you look at the numbers and it's like, okay, Nebraska should win this game, right? And I think a lot of people in Lincoln were probably guilty of that, including myself. So maybe that was kind of a valuable thing of like, hey, it doesn't really matter who you play in this league. You're always capable of losing. And hopefully that message was translated through that tough loss last week, because you still gave yourself a chance to win, right? Maybe not in the most glorious fashion, but you were still in the game. So hopefully that was the lesson that was relayed last week. And how can they take that over to this week too and bounce back from that? That's going to be the most important thing today, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Last week did seem, I guess, flat, uninspired, something that, the lack of pressure that they put on the quarterback was noticeable.
The guy had too much time. Yeah.
And Hutmacher, is it Hutmaker or Mocker? Can we decide that already?
Hutmacher.
Mocker. Let's go with Mock. Nut Smasher. Let's just go Nut Smasher. I think that's what we all want to say.
Yes.
Interesting though, Nut Smasher was lined up on. They got a 4-year starter at center.
I think we found a title.
Yeah. they have a 4-year starter at center. So it was a veteran Big Ten guy. He's played a ton of games.
I thought Michigan State Center
handled him
job against him. Yeah.
Yeah, he handled him. And I don't know. I think Nebraska might be a little bit more dependent on his disruption, him and Ty's disruption than maybe we realize, because it didn't seem to drive Michigan State back a lot. And it's not like they gashed Nebraska, and even the longer plays that they made in the passing game, those have all been for the most part contested. That's one thing that you do like about this Nebraska secondary and their defense coming into the Maryland game is they've given up a handful of big plays, but not an obscene amount. It's below average, below what most teams give up, and they're all contested, right? So that's what you just hope you see today, because look, Maryland might not even run it double-digit times. I mean, dude, they're going to throw it all freaking game, and they got four. They got 4 receivers in the top 20 in terms of receiving yards. The way Tagovailoa spreads it out just tells you how much he really does look off guys. He really does go through his progressions. They got 4 dudes all kind of lumped in with 400 to 600-ish receiving yards, right? He will spread that thing around like no problem whatsoever. So it's a very different game that Nebraska is going to have to play today. Very different opponent. They haven't played anybody like this in a long time. This reminds me of like Chase Daniel, Missouri days, right? Aerial assault, throwing it up, 50, 60 times if you want. So it's a really different contest today. And I just, the optics of it though, here's the thing, like losing to Maryland at home, that will not sit well with us.
I don't
like you lose to Wisconsin at home. People are like, yeah, it's Wisconsin. It happens.
I think Maryland was one of those games that you put down as a likely loss as you filled out your garage calendar at the beginning of the year.
Not in the collective psyche of a typical Husker fan, though.
No, but where Nebraska's at, where Maryland's been at from a talent standpoint.
Well, I think the Husker fan just looked and said, "Oh, they got a Tagovailoa at quarterback."
Still, he's been in college 78 years.
We'll chalk that one up as a loss. But what Nebraska needs today, kind of to your point, Schmitty, about Michigan State. Think back to pregame Nebraska, Illinois. We saw it in the rewinds. What did Matt Rule want from his team? He wanted them to play unleashed.
Yes.
And what I did not see, I think the best way to put that,
he wanted them to die. Yeah.
Well, it's the week before.
But you look at it, and Nebraska's defense last week did not play unleashed. I think that's the best way to put what we saw in East Lansing. Maybe it was tight. Maybe they were playing with the pressure. All I know is they did not play unleashed. You look at the guys that have stepped up week in, week out for this defense. Nut Smasher, Isaac Gifford, Reimer, Tommy Hill. Guys that did not have a great week for the defense last week. I mean, you expect these guys to step up and make plays. I think Isaac Gifford had 1 tackle for loss and was a bit suspect in coverage at times. Tommy Hill dropped an interception on the first drive that really could have swung some things early, gotten you some momentum in a game where Michigan State was just looking for something to go right early. They're playing with emotion. They need something to go right. They get on the board first. That was all they needed to stay in that football game. You just need a defense today that is unleashed, especially with how Maryland loves to throw the football around. It's November at Nebraska. It doesn't necessarily feel like November in Nebraska today, but it's still a chilly one. Can you get some things to go right with this home crowd, knowing the home crowd is going to get into this football game. They want you to be bowl eligible. If you can get something to go right, as opposed to the other way around today early in this football game, I think you have to look at the defensive side of the football first. That can open things up for a momentum swing in this football game that I think can allow the defense to play unleashed as the game goes. And that's what you need from them today, an unleashed performance, playing without that fear of failure, to bring back a classic Scott Frost quote.
Well, this team has been so much better just by the books at home, too. I mean, you're 4-1 overall with the record, and I think that gives them a little bit more boost of confidence. As you say, Elijah, you get something to go your way, and the crowd gets right behind you. I mean, you saw it even the last couple of times this team was at home. You saw it against Northwestern. You saw it against Purdue. Even if you fumble the opening kickoff, you roll your defense out there, they make a couple of, TFL plays, and all of a sudden the building's right back into it. So I think that plays a pretty big factor. And something curious I'm interested to hear from all three of you guys is we've talked about the schedule for Maryland, right? And how they had to play Penn State last week. Now that could help Nebraska maybe because of, the difficulty of that opponent and then traveling all the way to Lincoln on the other side of the conference. Does that necessarily help Nebraska? Because at the same time, if you're Maryland, you got off to a good start this year, and now you're struggling. You just got killed by Penn State. I feel like they're going to be playing pretty ticked off today, and that's something that makes me nervous heading into this game today.
I think Maryland knows that this is their best shot, possibly. I forget who they end the year with. Maybe Rutgers, and Rutgers is playing good ball. They have Michigan next week.
Yeah, the next three. Nebraska, Michigan, Rutgers.
So, and you just had Penn State. So it's a stretch. They get that this is it. What I've observed about Maryland, and I've tried to keep an eye on them, right, is that if you make it a mosh pit, they aren't real interested in going 4 quarters with that. That's what Illinois did. That's what Northwestern did. And while they can score in 2 seconds, and they're going to have a lot of guys hear their name for the NFL draft, from a skill and a back 7 standpoint, when it comes to trading punches, you make this thing physical. You make this thing kind of barbaric.
Yep.
From a Big Ten West standpoint, that's where their Achilles heels. I mean,
you think you're going to come in here and play modern football, Maryland? you got another thing coming. It's true, though. It's true. Just drag them into the dark ages.
Yes,
it's.
I think that's how it can happen for Nebraska Saturday. Clearly, I mean, we say it every Saturday about turnovers. We say it about being aggressive and big plays. All those things are true. You're going to need to hit a big play in the pass and run game, probably a couple of half if you're Nebraska. You're going to need to go beat the hell out of their quarterback and stop the run. Yes, that's going to need to happen, but you can't turn the football over, and that's so obvious. It's such a stupid take, but it's there, and Nebraska needs to not do that. They've survived it in October, and it bit them in the backside to start November. They've got to be, they got to either match turnovers or be plus on top of being really good at open field tackling. They've thrived at that for most of the season defensively, but they really got to be on it today, possibly to the tune of the best of the season.
Well, to Maryland's credit, I don't think they've strung together in this losing streak a 4-quarter performance, but they haven't gone away at the end of football games. They haven't rolled over whenever they're down in Northwestern game you're expecting to go out and win. I mean, they don't roll over. They continue to battle through the 4th quarter. The question for them is, can they string together a full 4-quarter performance, which is 2 different things. They haven't gone away in the 4th, but they've had some rough 3rd quarters, some rough 2nd quarters. They haven't really strung together a 4-quarter performance in that time. But when you flip it around, neither has Nebraska really. Which team today in November, whenever the games matter, looking to get bowl eligible, can string together a 4-quarter performance? That might be what the difference is in a game like today, because it's November in the Big Ten. We kind of laid it out. It's an any given Saturday league, especially once November rolls around. Who can go out there and make more plays for 4 quarters? That might be the difference in this football game, because from a a stylistic point of view, it's interesting. Maryland, high flying, Nebraska trying to get back to the dark ages. I mean, it can be sometimes be as simple as who can string together that 4-quarter performance, because that's what's going to make the other team play that style of football throughout. And neither of these teams has strung together a 4-quarter performance in recent weeks. Can you either do it today? That might be all it takes to go get a victory in November. Go get yourself to bowl eligibility.
Nebraska's going to have to work extremely hard today to get a 4-quarter victory. I mean, every play on defense and make enough plays on offense. Maryland can have a bad half of football, but they can hit a couple of big plays, a couple of big shots. They have that in their offense. They have that in their arsenal, and with their quarterback being able to extend plays, guys, I mean that's going to be your difference today. Is how well is Tulia contained, and what type of bounce back do you get from Harburg?
Can we play offensive coordinator a little bit too, though?
Sure. Run the ball till they stop it. Is that okay? Can I give you that envelope?
I mean, what did we talk about on this here show after Minnesota? It's that the idea of restraint that Marcus Satterfield and Matt Rule need to show. I don't care what your play sheet says. Your play sheet might say, "Oh yeah, it's time for a 5-step drop complex passing route right here. That is going in for 6.
Great right now."
Yeah, it's no, man.
Set up for it, coach.
No. I know they're set up for it, but I think we can say at this point, it's pretty much yeah, right. It's just proven that shit ain't happening. Excuse the language. That ain't happening. It's just not. It's not going to happen, and that's okay. Right? It's okay. You can do other things. Nebraska had the ball in the fourth quarter. You know how many possessions they had in the fourth quarter? They had 5. You had 5.
Hilarious.
You had 5 possessions in the first quarter. You didn't take more than like a minute off the clock in any of those 5. They'd completely abandoned the run game, and I know the retort is, well, they can't run the ball. Okay, fine, right? But they might be able to. They might be able to. I don't even think you can say might in the passing game. It is so unlikely that you're going to break one in the passing game outside of what we identified again after week 1. Play action, hard play action, deep shot. That's it. Right. And I guess towards the end of the game, nice completion by Harburg to Malachi on doing that deeper post. That was impressive. Malachi's coming of age. There's no question. That kid is he's on the rise for sure. He's starting to look like a dependable receiver. But I'm just look, they threw it, I think it was 24 times in that game, 25. It was season high.
28, 11 to 28.
11 to 28. There you go. It's like that's never, ever, 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 ever going to be Nebraska's winning recipe with the way the team is constructed right now. You have to have more restraint than that. You just have to. That's how you'll decrease your interceptions. Right? That's how you'll keep banging on somebody and doing and just sticking with the run, so that in the fourth quarter, you might be able to break one. You keep the ball away from the other team. You keep your defense fresh. We can go on and on, but it is like that. That should be your core philosophy, anyways. I think that's winning football. Period. But especially with what you got at the QB position, that ain't him, man. He's not going to pick apart defenses. Like, can we just admit that now? Do you even have to show it? Like, why do you have to show it? They're not respecting it. Nobody's respecting it. It's not going to happen. The defense is not scared of that in any way, shape, or form.
It's a shot play, right? It's a shot play. It's a surprise.
Shot play's been there all year too.
They lull you to sleep with the body blow, and then they hit you over the top. It's the old and trusted and even vintage way of Nebraska's passing game for almost 40 plus years. And the other part of this, though, is however they're coaching him and what they're telling him to do from a read standpoint and what's he seeing, that some of those crossing routes have been there. And if they're going to throw it God, I wish he'd complete them because they have been there, and they've targeted the wrong guy. They've targeted the wrong receiver on a play when someone else has been open. But they need to stick with the run game, and they need to exhaust that. And I'm not saying they don't throw it, but figure it out. Roll him out, get him comfortable. He's not been comfortable, and just because Michigan State or Maryland or pick a team, their defense says, okay, they're awful at coverage or they give up a ton of yards, doesn't mean that's how you need to get down. What do you do best? You run the football and you're physical. That's what you need to stick with, even though they know that. Make them stop you. And that needs to be the approach.
To me, it's, and I know we need to get out here and take a break and get the sponsors their due time on the air, but it just feels to me like Nebraska, as much as it pains me to say this, at times needs to take a page out of the Iowa offensive playbook. Because what?
Hold on to the
It's
football.
really just a play sheet. It's not even a book. It's just a sheet.
Like, you know what?
It's a Cliff Notes.
Sometimes on
It looks
third-
like a Tecmo Bowl selection.
Yeah.
but with where this Husker offense is, sometimes on 3rd and 8, the best decision is to run the football up the middle and punt the football away. Sometimes being safe, as annoying and as frustrating it is, sometimes that is the right decision to make. I'm not saying Nebraska needs to abandon the passing game. I understand there is value in being able to keep those safeties high, not letting them get downhill into that running fit, if you will. There's value in taking that deep shot and keeping the defense honest. But at times, there just needs to be that risk aversion from this Husker offense and say, you know what? Heinrich Harburg, he's liable to throw an interception on 3rd and 8 whenever you have to drop him back in a 5-step drop and try to scan the field.
Yep.
There are times today where it will be more advantageous for you to run the football on 3rd and 8, even if it doesn't get you a first down, and punt the football away and send your trusted unit back onto the football field and allow them to go make a play for you. That's what I'd like to see more from this Husker offense. It's not abandon the passing game completely. It's just pick and choose your times a little bit better than what has been in the past.
The answer is not going to be a Harburg drop back. It's just not.
No.
It's not. It's absolutely not. We can look at the drive chart, look at the play chart in the 4th quarter. It's concerning. A lot of shotgun, a lot of no huddle, a lot of drop back, very few runs. The runs that you did get, you got 2 to 5 yards each time. Didn't call them enough. You just flat out didn't call them enough. Abandoned it too early. Yeah, it's just and look, I know we got to get to break too, but maybe we can hit up Brian's.
Let's hit Brian real quick.
But Brian, and I think we should talk about this on the other side. But they'll load the box today to stop the run. What is Nebraska's plan B? Oh, we got their plan B. Oh, we got the plan B.
Kranek has a plan B.
That is coming up. There's a tease. That's a tease.
All right, that is Mark Kranek, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark. It's the weekend edition, Hail Varsity Radio, in this first hour on KFOR, KFORnow.com. And we're streaming, and we're down here at the Single Barrel. So come on by, say what's up, get some breakfast. The breakfast is legendary down here at the Single Barrel. Don't forget, Real Red Reaction follows live postgame, Nebraska-Maryland, around 2:30 here at the Single Barrel. So we invite you down, Nebraska-Maryland, big ball game. Both teams at 5 and 4. A quick timeout. Hour 1 continues with Hail Varsity, the weekend edition, and we're powered by Cornhead Lager.
Hi, this is Dave with Dave's Heating and Air, Lincoln's local family-owned heating and air business.
Dave's Heating and Air is Lincoln's professionals you can trust. Whether you need service, repairs, or a new system, Dave's is here for you. Dave's wants your home to feel comfortable and cozy. Get the peace of mind guarantee and call Dave's for your HVAC needs.
Call me today at 402-480-3004 and talk with a professional. Dave's Heating and Air, doing whatever it takes.
Hey, it's Jill St. James for Heartland of Nebraska Windows. I love fall. I hate winter, but I don't hate winter as much as I did before I got my new triple pane vinyl replacement windows from Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Now I actually look forward to opening my energy bill to see how much money we're saving each month. Are you ready to make your home more comfortable and save money? Call Heartland of Nebraska Windows for a free estimate. You could buy more expensive windows from a bigger company, but you can't get better windows from a better company than Heartland of Nebraska Windows.
Hi, this is Jason Ball, president of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Partnership for Economic Development. The Lincoln Manufacturing Council is part of our continuous work to connect employers with skilled workforce and expose Lincolnites to new career opportunities. The Manufacturing Council courses are taught periodically throughout the year, giving students baseline manufacturing knowledge and exposure to new job opportunities. And more than 200 people have participated in the program. We've added more classes in 2023 and have expanded class offerings to provide more skills development for employees. In October, 10 students received the first Level 2 Manufacturing Skills Certificate after completing a 60-hour program with instruction from Southeast Community College. The Level 2 program was made possible through an ARPA Workforce Development Grant from the City of Lincoln. This grant is helping employers develop skilled workforce and helping employees to advance their careers. For more info on LMC, visit lincolnmanufacturingcouncil.org. Thanks, and have a great week.
My great-grandpa Ollie went to fight in the war when he was 16 years old. I never got to meet him, but Mom said he was a hero. Because one day he parachuted into the enemy camp, and he rescued 7 men. But Grandpa Ollie didn't make it out. I'm sad that I never got to meet him. But I'm happy that he was brave.
It takes a lot of courage to raise your hand and take that oath. An oath that says you are willing to give everything you have, including your last breath. I'm Joe Swenson.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. It's the weekend edition, Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Mark Kradak, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark. Hope you're all doing well. We're down here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. 7 to 9 weekend edition rolls forward. We're streaming on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter. Give that a follow at H Varsity Radio, KFOR, Facebook, KFOR, Twitter. Just had a really cool moment, and this guy has done so many big games in the world of college sports with Westwood One and NCAA tournaments. And Johnny Holiday, voice of the Maryland Terrapins, came over to say hey, and that was really awesome to meet him. Been listening to him for a ton of years, and he asked us if we drew the short straw doing a 7 a.m. remote. Like, no, we've been doing this a while here, so excited to meet him. That was awesome. But, yep, it's Maryland, it's Nebraska. Who gets off the schneid of 5-4? Maryland's been on a bit of a tailspin, Kranak, and Nebraska really, they just got to play much, much freer, easier said than done with this team that's not really ever been in this moment for about 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, and we went to break with
you're
Brian
muted,
asking.
Kranak?
I should not be. I'm here.
Hmm.
Hold on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear
I
me
might
now?
be on the board.
Connor has vacated the board.
So we'll just keep talking and assume that see, if we had Harbaugh here, we would know.
We'd know the signs, Mark.
We would know
given
what's
us.
going on.
Yeah, we didn't prepare the signs.
Yeah, I wonder if we're off air. And if we aren't, we'll just keep on keeping on. But we're down here at the Single Barrel. Can email the show, Chris at HailVarsity.com. And you want to reach out to him and see what's going on with why he is absent. So we'll see what's up there.
Number 2.
So let's play charades. 2 minutes.
No. Connor is taking a number 2.
Connor said he'll be right back in 2.
Okay.
He's taking a number 2.
We can hear you.
Brian says, Brian, you can hear me?
See, the stream.
Brian, can you hear me?
I don't believe the on the air people or us can hear Mark.
Yeah.
Which is the interesting dichotomy here, in that some people who are tuned into Hail Varsity Radio right now can hear Mark, but those that are listening on terrestrial radio or us here at the Single Barrel cannot hear Mark, which is there's Connor. Hey, buddy.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. What the heck happened here?
I think Connor needed a quick bathroom break, so
yeah.
I was dumb and forgot to pot up Cranack on the board.
Yeah,
okay.
I noticed that. That's very hurtful. I had a lot of stuff to say.
R.I. Bell says YouTube can hear everything. Catherine's like, shut up and give me content. Yes. Catherine,
No, that's
thank you. We will get.
Hey, Connor, sometimes number 2 happens. It happens, and we can't hate on Connor for that.
Get exposed like this, but
yeah, you need to get one of those like chairs that they have in Idiocracy, where it's like it's a seat plus it's a toilet. It's great.
There is a giant trash can there. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, wow, that is
too far.
Really terrible visual.
Who hasn't thrown up during a commercial break on the Saturday morning show? Throw the first stone.
All right, unofficially, real quick.
I have
unofficially, I went through the play chart of Nebraska from the fourth quarter against Michigan State. So these are unofficial numbers. Margin of error, 1 or 2 plays.
You didn't.
All right.
You didn't start. You didn't start getting your lighter out and burning yourself each time.
No, well, that would have felt better. That would have felt better.
In the comments over here too.
Come on, Connor. Come on. Okay, so listen, 15 out of the 19, again, unofficial, plus or minus a play or two. 15 out of the 19 plays that Nebraska ran in their 5 possessions were pass plays, designed pass plays. And you might even go 16 and 19 because I believe the long run by Harburg was also a designed pass play and the dude just took off, right? So in those moments in the fourth quarter, looking at the play sheet, Satterfield rule, you're essentially within a possession or 2 the entire quarter. That's what they call, right? They just call 16 pass plays out of 19 possible. During that time, you throw a pick, you fumble on a sack, right? Even though that was debatable. But good things just flat out aren't happening. So earlier, Brian had asked, what is Nebraska's plan B? There is no plan B, right? Honestly, truly, and that's my point here, right? Is I think they're going to the plan B too much. The plan B sucks. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. And we've just seen it over and over and over and over. It's just, you are beating your head against a wall if you're trying to turn Harburg or Sims into Brady. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Run right into that loaded box. Do a little play action. Get Harburg on the move a little bit too. Where's the waggle at? Can I get a waggle up in here? Where is the boot? Right?
Move him around.
Yeah, move him around a little bit. He needs to have, at this stage in his development, this doesn't mean
short
forever.
Passes are okay. Dump offs to your H-back for 5 are okay. Check downs to your running back are okay.
Yeah.
Tight end, 7 yard, find the zone. Here's Harburg to Fedoni. That can happen, right?
Yeah.
And that's everything's 20 yards downfield into triple coverage.
Well, Matt Rule said
not
as
everything,
much
but a lot of it.
Through first 11 months on the job, how many times has Matt Rule said his vision for what he wants the passing game to be
is not here?
Is to be explosive. He wants the passing game to be explosive. And as it currently stands, Nebraska's passing attack is not consistent enough to go be explosive. You've had the big shot against Northwestern. You've had the big shot against Purdue. Throughout the rest of the entire season, that's not what Nebraska's passing game has been. If Nebraska can get one explosive play today through the passing game against Maryland, I think you feel very happy with that, but that's not what Nebraska's plan A or plan B should be as it currently stands. As I said before, take a page out of Iowa's book.
Seriously.
You know what?
It
Third
sucks.
May, it's about risk aversion. In the Big Ten West, it's so much more beneficial for you to have Maryland drive 70 yards on you as opposed to 40 because Heinrich Harburg threw an interception on 3rd and 8, or Heinrich Harburg stood too long in the pocket on 3rd and 8, and he gets sacked behind
a morale thing, too.
Line.
It's a morale thing.
It's about keeping momentum away from the other team, risk aversion, and giving yourself another chance later in the quarter. So it's painful to watch at times. Whenever you watch Iowa, oh, man, there's 8 guys in the box. What are they going to do? They're going to run the football again directly into it for a yard. sometimes that's the best you can hope for, and you got to hope that your defense can step up and make a play, set you up with the short field, and allow you to get points on the board that way, because Nebraska's offense is just very limited what it can do, and punting in the Big Ten at times is winning because it's better than a turnover.
As long as it's not 33.5 an attempt. That was an issue last week.
Yeah,
it's about picking and choosing the spots where you do try to be explosive in the passing game, and that is why Marcus Satterfield makes the big bucks for him to decide when to do that. But currently, as it stood over the past couple of games, he has not picked the right times. I mean, picked the right time against Northwestern, picked the right time against Purdue, and you saw how those games swung. He couldn't pick the right time against Michigan State, and then you find yourself down by 10 and you abandon the running game. And I mean, all hope that you have to win that football game kind of goes out the window.
It's a situation where he is, I'll give Satterfield credit. He, out of the shadow of his own goal line against Illinois, that back shoulder fade to Washington. He's called the shot plays at really good times. And sometimes they've hit, sometimes they haven't. During October, they hit. But you've got to be able to execute him. And that has regressed to me with this passing game. And that is something that you can't live with. So, again, to your point, Cranack, restraints monumental today, and it needs to be supervised by the head coach and make Maryland stop you. Make Maryland stop you running the football.
Listen to let's just break down when you choose run or pass, the good and bad that can happen, and the requirements that you have in order to call and execute these plays. You just said it, execute, right? So in on a pass play, it starts with what? Real good protection. Is Nebraska good at protection?
Depends.
No, they're really bad at protection. They allow pressures.
They're not consistent.
They're not good at protection. Okay. So then next, after protection, you need a quarterback who can survey the field. You need a quarterback who can wait till the last second to deliver, who can climb the pocket, who can find the open man. Is Harburg good at that? No, he is not good at that. Then you need receivers who are veteran, who understand the intricacies, who will fight for the ball, who will get open. Does Nebraska have that? No, they do not have that either.
Painting a bleak picture here, Mark.
And you also need accuracy. You need an accurate pinpoint quarterback to find said receiver who has found the soft opening in the zone, and you need to be able to hit him accurately. Can Nebraska do that? No, Nebraska cannot do that either, right? You don't have any element of a successful passing game down, right? Compare that, and I feel you, Connor. I'm just a second, man. I see you chomping at the bit. I appreciate it. After you take that number 2, you feel lighter. You're ready to go. You're just ready to attack. Seriously, though. But then in the run game, what do you need? You need really good run blocking. Does Nebraska have that? No, not really. Not really. But that's it, right? Like so your risk when you hand it off is so much lower than if you drop back to pass. You run the risk of throwing a pick, of taking a sack, of
fumbling the ball.
Of fumbling the ball. You stop the damn clock, which means more possessions for Tagovailoa. It just goes on and on and on. The cumulative effect of an inept passing game, it's just not effing worth it. It is not worth it.
Well, there's a difference, I think, just to jump in here, Connor, quickly, between a drop back passing game and a passing game. Nebraska, all those elements you laid out are the drop back passing game. What Nebraska needs for success is a defensive line that is not pinning their ears back, a defensive line that has to get their run fits, and a safety that is flowing downhill because they think, you know what, I need to get into the box here to go make a play on the running game. That's where Nebraska finds its success. That's not on 3rd and 8. That's not on 3rd and 6. That's on 2nd and 4, on 2nd and 6, whenever you can have that element. And that's why it's about picking and choosing the times to try to pull out that passing game. Because in modern college football, you're not going to put points on the board running into the line of scrimmage into a scrum of 8 whenever the defense sacks the box. You do have to have that threat of the passing attack, but that's why I'm saying it's about picking that time whenever the safety is going to flow downhill. The defensive line is thinking, it's run here, I need to get into my run fits. Whenever the defense can't bring exotic blitzes to stress that offensive line because they're thinking, you know what, if we bring an exotic blitz, we're opening up the possibility of Nebraska busting off a 25-yard run here. That's about picking the time to pull out the passing attack, and it's not drop-back passing attack. It's play action. It's stressing the defense in that way to open up things in the passing attack. Because Nebraska mono as you kind of laid out with wide receivers, quarterback, offensive line, does not win that battle.
I want to go back to this discussion about picking the right spot to do the deep shot real quick. And I get it. Nebraska has not been good throwing the football. That's pretty clear. I thought there were some good throws, some timely throws from Harburg at certain points in the game against Michigan State. I would argue that they did pick a good time to do the deep shot. Now, forgive me for not remembering exactly when it was. It would have either tied the game if it was executed properly or given Nebraska an early lead. But it was wide open, and it was there. Harburg just didn't make the throw. So I think the spot in which they're calling it is good. The execution of said play call was not good against Michigan State, but it was good the previous 2 weeks. So I think I didn't really have a problem with them taking the shot because it was there, and that would have given you a jolt of momentum, and it would have either tied the game or given you the lead in that kind of sloppy, cold, gray, very lethargic atmosphere in Michigan State, it felt like, at least from a TV perspective. So I would say that they're doing fine on that regard, but I agree, like, there's nothing wrong with a 7-yard post for Fedoni. There's nothing wrong with a 5-yard crosser for Alex Bullock. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't really have an issue of the times in which they're calling said deep shots.
Now, in Rule and Satterfield's defense, on average with Harburg, fewest pass attempts per game in the Big Ten. He's 17 a game. So let's give him some credit. This is not like a super. We're not trying to be super critical of Satterfield and Rule, because they're dealing with what they're dealing with, right? He's 17 times a game is all they're throwing this guy, that's pretty damn low already. But the issue is when it comes crunch time and it's fourth quarter, you cannot look back on your play sheet or look back on your drive chart and be like, wow, we called out of 19 plays, we called 16 passes. It's just like, no.
How much of that was the moment, though? You're down 10 in the fourth quarter, and they didn't even, to me, have some of the urgency. There's a lot of time burning off the clock when they were down 10. And you need to throw. Part of that was time and situation. You're down 10. Yeah. I get it, though. Set yourself up in better spots. And what happened, right? You had the early interception. You had a second interception. You had the fumble, and you still got stops by your defense. You got screwed on that touchdown pass that they called complete. And you get hosed on a. I mean, the officials didn't. Thing's going to go there for 2 seconds, but no, there's a streak that happens with Harburg. He either gets in rhythm early, and he did against Illinois. I mean, he started out 4 or 5 and threw the ball pretty well. He got in rhythm pretty early on some nice plays. The first half was doable in the passing game for Nebraska. The Fleeks crosser comes to mind on 3rd and 2, and then the deep shot to Lloyd, on the option. So he's had moments. To your point, they've not put it together for 4 quarters on offense, but they've got to know what they can do well in the run game. Teams have taken away Harburg on the option. So what have we seen kind of emerge? You've seen Emmett Johnson, and you've seen Emmett Johnson in the tackles. So that's okay for me to go to today against this Maryland fast and undersized defense.
They're pretty good defensively, and they're pretty good against the run. They are.
Yep. Sprinkle in a little bit of your Harburg option, but let's see the running backs eat. Let's see some counter. Let's see some toss powers. I mean, just go at them and again manage that passing game and use it to what the guy's strengths are, and that's some play action or on the move versus the drop back.
And Harburg, for whatever reason, I think it's probably the past 3 weeks. I'd like to go back and see when it happened or when it started. But the way he is running in terms of accepting contact versus
started when he got jacked by the Purdue safety.
It might be then. But he's running
Northwestern safety.
He's the level of aggression he's running with has taken a giant step back. right? He's not. He's kind of reminds me. Taylor Martinez dealt with that for a little while too, where there was a bit where as soon as contact happened, he just kind of accepted it, right? You remember that? Remember when Taylor kind of went there, and you're just like, what happened? Why is he just
post turf toe?
Yeah, like, what, dude? Don't just like curl up and accept the hit. Like, lower your shoulder and crush somebody, And I know you want to protect Harburg and all that, but for what? For 50% passing, 2 picks? No, you don't need to protect him for that. It's just so I'd like to see him run more aggressively. That's been a missing piece of Nebraska's offense, right? He's accepting contact more. He's curling up a little more.
He's been told 2 different things: get down, slide, take care of yourself. Oh,
might be
run through someone's face. So
Yeah.
make a decision: either protect him or let him sell out his body.
It needs to be a little more reckless abandon in the run game. If he's going to get anything done, if Nebraska's going to get anything done, they need that +1 from him. They need that. They need that off script stuff, right? Because the script ain't going to work. The script is not going to work. It is proven. And you have to protect the defense, especially against a team like Maryland today. The clock's going to stop. The game's going to go a little bit longer. Your defense is going to get worn out. Your secondary is going to probably run about 6.4 miles today. Nebraska has an opportunity to wear down if they're not careful.
Hour 2 on the way. Weekend edition, Hail Varsity. We're live here at the Single Barrel.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to download, and you get real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I use it all the time, and I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying the gas you have to buy anyway?
Yes, I'm looking at the Upside app now, and there's a gas station at the next exit offering 25 cents per gallon cash back.
Okay, I'm stopping to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code BLING to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code BLING for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code BLING for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Get ready for holiday feast season with Pepto-Bismol.
Uncle Derek's here with his famous fried turkey. Hey, Aunt Mary brought the mac and cheese. Donna's here with the potato salad.
Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief for unexpected stomach upsets. So enjoy the holidays. Pepto has you covered, no matter who made the potato salad.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto-Bismol. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The A Street Market, your neighborhood grocery, has pre-Thanksgiving savings. Our family 5-pound flour, only $2.89. Baking chips, just $2.49. And powdered or brown sugar, $1.79 each. Bob Evans mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese, $3.97 each. Our family frozen vegetables, 4 for $5. And Jessie Lord cream pies for $7.99. Shop A Street Market at the corner of 33rd and A in Lincoln. Now offering free delivery with no minimums.
Those crisp fall mornings, the changing of the leaves, pumpkin spice to everything. There's nothing quite like getting out into the community to enjoy all that fall has to offer. Don't let allergies put an end to all of your fall plans. At Lincoln Pharmacy, your community health mart pharmacy, we're here to help you make the most of your fall. Find your allergy relief at Lincoln Pharmacy at the corner of 33rd and A Street, Lincoln. Call 402-817-7978 for free delivery. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Friday too many Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. The World Health Organization says that on average, a child is killed there every 10 minutes. ABC's Matt Gutman has the latest on the fighting from Tel Aviv.
We spoke to one of the doctors there who said the system has collapsed.
Currently, we're working with not more than 15% capacity of the nurses and doctors in the hospital.
Military spokesman Peter Lerner said Israel is focusing on the hospitals because that's where Hamas is.
There have been ongoing protests in the U.S. Includes this one Friday night in New York City calling for a ceasefire. A police officer in Austin, Texas was shot and killed. Another was hurt, and the shooting early this morning led to a SWAT response and calls for nearby residents to evacuate. A large international study found the popular weight loss drug Wegovy reduced the risk of serious heart problems by 20%. Wegovy is a higher dose of the diabetes drug Ozempic. Wars around the world putting the focus on Veterans Day. John Cristandos served in the Army during World War II. He spoke at the opening of the Liberation Pavilion at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans and said current events and memories should be enough to stop atrocities.
We all live one life and we're all human beings. Just live life the way it should be. No war. It's not necessary. Everything was a memory. It wasn't a fond memory, but it was a memory to live with.
Today, President Biden will lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Pope Francis took the unusual step of removing a bishop from his post. The Vatican says the Pope relieved the Bishop of Tyler, Texas, Joseph Strickland. No reason was given, but the bishop had been vocally critical of the Pope and his policies. You're listening to ABC News.
God, I'm so stressed about my business not being ready for the holidays.
Uma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Uma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Uma?
Yep. Switching to Uma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Uma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Uma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Uma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online. Qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
I'm Jeff Bryden. Lincoln Fire and Rescue first responders were called to a crash involving 5 vehicles near 40th Street and Nebraska Parkway Friday afternoon. In a report by our media partner 1011 News, LPD said a westbound Nissan Murano was attempting to turn from Nebraska Parkway onto 40th Street when it was struck by an
The Hail Varsity Radio Saturday Morning Show. Strap yourselves in. Here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now, roll tide.
And Mark Cranack.
Time has come for someone to put his foot down. And that foot is me.
Back with you. It's hour 2. It's the weekend edition. Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Mark Cranack, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark. We welcome in from Counter Read, counterread.com. Get your subscription now. Brandon Vogel with us at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. It is Nebraska. It is Maryland. The line is still a little bit doable for you when it comes to the breakfast buffet. We're down here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and P. The buses have not left yet from Memorial Stadium, so there's still some Terps milling around in the lobby.
They were actually having some troubles as I was walking in here this morning.
The bus was not starting?
No, they were
started.
They were loading up the bus, and some of the Maryland staffers got themselves locked outside. And they didn't around the entire hotel
so
to get back into the front. So they were waiting for people to let them in. They're all sitting outside.
Knocking. Let's see if you're a Nebraska fan, if that's symbolic of the end zone today.
Hey,
locked out of the end zone.
Hey, how about our boy RS listening on the stream in the Philippines right now on Veterans Day? Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, RS. Thank you for your
to all the veterans. Yeah, but he lets us know that he's listening in the Philippines, retired there. I was like, "You deployed there?" He's like, "Nah, married a Filipina."
Not a bad life to be living, huh?
so good on you, RS. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the veterans that are listening today.
Sure.
And Brandon, props to you too, man. You got the camo. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, small token of support, I suppose.
Yeah.
So definitely happy Veterans Day out there to everyone who served.
Yep.
For sure. It's going to be a sight with the national anthem and the American flag covering all of Memorial Stadium's field.
Oh, the flyover should be pretty legit today, man. I hope they bring out the warthogs. I want to see some A-10s flying low as hell, loud as hell, like just at 4 miles an hour right over the stadium. Let's see that. Let's see that today.
This may be un-American from me. I am not a fan of the helicopter flyovers. They had a helicopter flyover at Michigan State last week, and it's like cool, but like nothing beats that feeling of a jet coming over the stadium.
Yeah. Okay. No. Can we get specific here though for a second? I hear what you're saying. You don't want to see a Chinook, a Huey, something like that, right? Dorky helicopters. You want to see some Apaches, right? You want to see some attack, like the ones with the Gatling guns, just like give me like 5 of those coming over. Different story. Or if you guys watch Top Gun, the second one, whatever the hell that helicopter was that they had in whatever the hell country that was, bring that thing over. Totally different story.
See,
I don't know why you couldn't
state it was Coast Guard search and rescue helicopters, which like very important.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, very important helicopters, but like it doesn't get the juices flowing when they fly over.
No, in the grand scheme in the grand scheme of aviation, those are the dorks, right? Like that, not the people. The machines are just dorkier than say an A-10, F-16, right? Apache.
What did they? Like what did our SEAL Team 6 use to go get Osama? What were those helicopters? What was what was flown in
the stealth helicopters?
Yeah, the Zero Dark 30. Those were sweet. Both pondering what exactly they were. And we're way the hell off track here, but we do love. And
we're talking about an aerial assault, which is a
with
great
Maryland
segue into Maryland.
Yes, Oaks concern level. Let's start there with Maryland here on offense. Do you get road Maryland, or do you get September Maryland today?
My feeling is they'll probably be closer to September Maryland, but we'll see. I mean, defensively, I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, teams hadn't really been trying to run the football at Nebraska a whole lot in terms of just the number of attempts. So they've been defending plenty of passes for a while now, just based on the strength of their defense. So that part won't be new. That said, Maryland kind of takes it to the nth degree as much as any team in the Big Ten. So it's going to come down to, well, it's really, I think, going to come down to Nebraska's ability to limit the big stuff through the air. Tagovailoa is going to complete passes, like he just is. And as long as Nebraska keeps that contained, this feels like a huge tackling game for Nebraska defensively. So I think they'll hang in there and they'll be okay. I mean, that's the strength of the Husker side this year, obviously. But Maryland, I think Maryland's good enough that they'll take some of what they're good at too. So it should be. It really kind of feels like a coin flip to me.
Brent, as you've looked at Maryland, they stand out in the Big Ten. I think they're unique just in terms of their attack, how they're constructed. And it's been a while. It's hard to think of like would you say that this Maryland team is maybe the biggest outlier on Nebraska's schedule, just in terms of style and what they have to prepare for?
Probably, like Colorado was maybe a little bit similar, although Colorado ran the ball in that game more than I thought that they would. But it was so early at that stage too. Week 2 under a new coaching staff, you're still kind of trying to figure out exactly what you have and how you're going to approach things. And that was certainly true for Colorado as well. So I think Maryland does stand out in that regard, in that they've been under this staff for a while. They've had the same quarterback for what feels like forever. So they're very assured in how they want to do things, and there's not a ton of mystery, but it does certainly stand out in terms of what Nebraska has had to face so far, particularly of late.
It's Brandon Vogel with us here, a weekend edition of Hail Varsity Radio as we get you geared up for Nebraska and Maryland. And Brandon, one of the talking points from Mike Loxley this week, we hit on it yesterday on this show, was that battle of not only the turnover battle, but the explosive play battle. Those are kind of the two things Maryland wants to win in a football game. If they can win the turnover battle, if they can win the explosive play battle, they think they're going to win the football game. And I want to get your thoughts on which of those two do you think Nebraska could win today if they are going to win this football game? Because I believe that to be true. Nebraska either has to win the turnover battle today or the explosive play battle, or at least have one of those be even if you want to go win this football game. I want to get your thoughts on which of those could be more likely for Nebraska to go win, because they've had issues on offense with explosive plays, especially against Michigan State, and they've had issues all season long winning the turnover battle. So of those two, which could Nebraska realistically win today? Because I think they're at a disadvantage in both.
Yeah, I would say they're definitely at a disadvantage in the turnover piece of it. And put it this way, if they end up winning that battle, they'll win the game. I really think they will. Explosiveness, there's a couple of ways to measure that. Like the most basic way is just kind of an explosive plays percentage. Maryland's at 14.7%, which is about average. Nebraska's at 14.8, actually. It doesn't feel that way. Nebraska doesn't feel that explosive, but it doesn't run all that many plays. And it does get them in the passing game, which we've talked about previously. And I think it's really essential for Nebraska to get those. Turnovers plus explosive plays. Brian Billick called that the toxic differential. I think if you win those two things, you win 85% of your games. So not surprised to hear Loxley say that, though I think every team, if you wanted to boil it down, would be like, we got to win those two. And the problem with it is like they're two of the things that are a little bit more random, but it's going to be huge in this one. I think you have a little bit more control over explosive plays, though. I felt like that approach kind of bit Nebraska a little bit last week. Felt like they were hunting big plays a little bit against Michigan State, which makes sense. They need them, but if they don't come, you can dig yourself into a hole, particularly against a team like Maryland that's more accomplished offensively.
Brandon, we were talking earlier in the show about how the team seemed a little flat-footed in Michigan State, and the conversation leading up into the MSU game was, well, there's a lot of seniors on this team who've really never had to play with stakes like this late into the season, right? Do you think there was maybe a little bit of a mental hurdle last week? And if so, how do they get over that this week?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, as much as kind of knowing that, hey, one more gets us someplace we've never been as kind of a senior class, it may have been as much, I think, dealing with winning 3 games in a row, which has also been unfortunately strange at Nebraska of late. So far this season, we've seen Nebraska respond to the tough losses. I wouldn't put, maybe Minnesota was tough in how you lost that game, but I think being game 1, you come out of that feeling like, well, hey, we played pretty well first time out. It was right there. We just got to fix A, B, and C. Colorado was tough. Michigan, obviously tough. And then I feel like last week was tough just because of what was at stake, to your point, Connor, but also kind of what was expected. So I would expect Nebraska to come back with kind of a redoubled effort, for lack of a better term. And if they do have that in a game that should be as close as this one, I kind of like where they should be at mentally. We don't know until we see it on the field, but I'm pretty confident in that piece of it.
Brandon Vogel with us from Counter Read, and so Chris is going to ask him a question. How slick was that?
As Mark resets,
assist to Mark.
That is that option pitch comfort level that Mark and I have after 2 decades.
And I'm as awkward as Harburg at it, you know.
Well, that's where the question's going.
Hey, but the pitch made it there eventually. That's all that matters.
Right. He found, it was a little soon.
I did not end thumb high on that one, but whatever.
But the problem is now Schmitty's struggling to get downfield with this question.
I'm trying to. There's 3 guys waiting for me. So
and there's a TFL.
Yes, right. 3rd and 12. Okay.
Pass.
This is just going exquisite. Vogues, I want to go to Harburg. Thank you, Mark, for leading me in to certain disaster. But with Harburg, listen, I think he's talented. I love his heart. I like his toughness. I think there's ability, and I really do like the coaches. You know, this is something that's new around Nebraska. Hey, we're going to coach you to get better, versus moving on or going to the next, be it the next coaching staff, be it the next offensive coordinator or wide receivers coach. I mean, they're gonna work through said problem or greenness, and let's coach him up and see how much better he can get down the road, and that's big time. But you have a short-term issue, and that's to get to 6 wins. With Harburg, Vogues, do you think he can stay out of his own way mentally, and do you think they can marry or get comfortable physically with what they're calling for? Because there's this want to do versus can do yin yang going on here with the offense.
Yeah, I mean, mentally with Harburg, I think part of the reason the staff hasn't really wavered from him since he took over the starting job is because he does kind of display, you know, the trait you always talk about and want with a quarterback, and he's got a pretty short memory. I think it's some of the physical stuff, just like seeing the throws and making the throws consistently, that you kind of can't fast forward to that point. So that's the struggle. And, you know, it's pretty, defenses know that they're going to try and make him pitch now on the options. They just are. And they're going to devote a ton of people to the box to stop Nebraska's run game and make Harburg prove he can make those throws. And make them pay, because that's basically what they're asking of Nebraska. So can he do that? I'll be interested to see if they get back to a little bit more of some of the quicker passing game. I think that, you know, could help him if he's able to complete some of those throws early. And hey, take the 6-7 yard throws if you can get them, and then that way you're at least posing that threat to Maryland, because Michigan State kind of never had to get out of its kind of what it came in trying to do, because they just weren't hitting those throws that said, okay, if you're going to do that, we'll make you pay this way.
Brandon Vogel with us from counterread.com. Literally just subscribed, by the way, like just now. Annual subscription. Hell of a deal. I thought I did before, actually, but I didn't. I didn't complete the transaction. I got distracted. I don't know what happened. So anyways, I'm in. Just go, dinner on me tonight. Just
thank you.
Give yourself a combo. All right. So we've kind of covered offensively. We know Nebraska is ultra limited, right? And it's just kind of like Elijah said it. Take a page out of Iowa's offensive play sheet. It's not a book; it's a sheet. It's paper bound. It's not. This thing is. I mean, it's just a couple of sheets stapled together. Looks like Tecmo Bowl. But do that, right? Like, okay, so that's offense. But let's switch over. Something that's kind of hidden and that has surprised me so far is, and especially in that Michigan State game, is Nebraska's aggressiveness on special teams and specifically punt return. I think Nebraska's at like 20 some yards for the season. And you had Billy Kemp fair catching it at the damn 5-yard line a couple times. No intention of advancing the ball on punt returns. How critically important is it, Brandon? And do you see them switching starting today with trying to get extra yards? Because yards are so hard to come by for Nebraska. I just don't see how you can forfeit that entire side of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. Either Kemp will be closer to, full health and will not have what seemed to be like a mandate to just go out there and catch the football, so we don't lose it, which, given Nebraska's turnover issues, you can understand that in principle, but then Michigan State had a great day punting and it cost them. So if Kemp isn't able to do that, doesn't have the green light to return, I would expect to see somebody like Ethan Nation back there, who Rule brought up Monday, saying he kind of regretted not giving him that opportunity, because you're right, Nebraska's just not accomplished enough offensively to give up those 6, 7, 8 yards per punt, in much less not even take the opportunity for, say, a bigger game than that, although we haven't seen them very often.
Vogues, as we look at Nebraska here, and this was a bigger picture topic, is this it for this football team this season to get 6?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty interested to see how Wisconsin looks today. Nebraska will be an underdog in that game on the road almost certainly, unless like Wisconsin just falls apart. I'll also be interested to see who's available for Wisconsin this week. That's kind of a big piece of that one. But Nebraska will have a shot in all of its games, and I'm also interested to see how Iowa continues, because that's a game where it looks like a coin flip on Nebraska's home field again, and a game where the style certainly I think suits Nebraska. So they've got opportunities. I think any hopes of continuing on in the West Division obviously hinge on today. So it's kind of like you can check the bowl box and also keep everything else open for yourself if you come out and play well, and I think they will. So, but I don't think 6 wins. This is both teams' best opportunity to get that 6th win. So it's kind of a high stakes game for a 11 a.m. spot on Peacock.
Brandon, reaction before we get you out to the Michigan saga this morning. Commissioner Petitti's ruling. Michigan saying, well, we're Michigan. We're going to fight this, Commissioner and Big Ten. What did you make of yesterday about the news drop while Michigan's in the air trying to find their way to Happy Valley?
It was quite entertaining. I'll say that. I was surprised by how forceful the kind of messaging from the Big Ten was, and there was a lot of talk about Petitti and kind of where he comes from, and also just being a new commissioner. How do you handle this? And well, he took the firm approach, and we'll see what happens from there. It's such a strange saga, and is it a fair punishment? Like they didn't punish the players, which, like a lot of people, is always the tough thing with this. So we'll see. I'm sure Michigan's pulling out all the stops, and we'll see what the Wolverines look like here in a couple of hours.
Well, Brendan, is it a fair punishment? It's a punishment, and I guess that's better than nothing.
It is. And I mean, fair, it's tough to say. I mean, it's been interesting to me, like so much of this has been, we're talking about, did Harbaugh know? Did he not know? I kind of care more about like whether he did or he didn't. Did you use the information? Like that's the key question for me. And if you believe that, yeah, it looks like they probably did. That's the tough part. And in that instance, if you have the evidence that they definitely did, suspension for the rest of the regular season kind of feels pretty fitting to me.
And Russ chimes in on the stream. Punishment for allegations. It's more than allegations, though. I mean, they have proof.
There's
for
proof
sure
that you don't have proof that Harbaugh knew, but you would.
Yeah,
think
that's what you don't. But he's the head guy, right? He's the head guy. So what else are you going to do? Here's the argument I don't like about all this: is you have heard some folks say, "Well, this is good because you shouldn't punish the players. You shouldn't punish the players. That's okay to punish the coach, but don't punish the players who are doing everything right and having a great season." But are they having that great of a season because of the BS of knowing what the other team is going to call? And Brandon, you dive into numbers all the time. I went back all the way to 2010. The nation leading percentage in terms of touchdown percentage allowed in the red zone. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but as a defense, the percentage of red zone trips that result in a touchdown, right? All the way back to 2010, the lowest that led the nation was like 29%, right? And that was like in 2016 LSU. Probably had 100,000 draft picks on that damn team, right? But generally, the average is around 32%, right? So the best defenses in America, the elite defenses in America, give up a touchdown in the red zone a third of the time. Michigan's at 9%. I mean, it's unheard of, unprecedented, unfathomable efficiency in the red zone, which to me, conspiracy theorist says, let these guys, hey, we got to give a little bit of a shadow of a doubt here. Let people get some stuff done between the 20s, but once they hit the 20s, we know what freaking plays they're running. We're going to shut that down. They've given up one damn touchdown in the red zone all year in 9 games. Dude, I'm sorry. That
they have 5 stars at every level of the defense. On one hand,
so does
Georgia.
Sure the
signs help
so
on
does
the other
LSU.
hand.
So does LSU, so does Georgia, so does Ohio State. There's plenty of teams that have talent. Nobody in the history of football, at least going back to 2010, has ever put up those kinds of numbers ever. And don't you remember watching the game?
Not to be an apologist here. I know we need to get to Gary Sharp here in just a second.
Apologist.
They've had those same numbers for the last 3 games whenever they haven't had the signs. When everyone in America has known, okay, Michigan's coming to town, we got to change our signs. They have the same freaking numbers. Their defense is still that
The
elite.
strength of schedule has something to do with it too. I think
That's true. That's true.
You are a hardballologist
today.
Hardballologist.
Well,
It's a new term.
he just likes khakis. Vogues, talk to me about counterread.com. You and Aaron do an amazing job of all things Big Red. How can folks check it out? And tell us your story real quick.
Yeah, so Aaron and I started a week of the home opener or the season opener for Nebraska football. Things have been going pretty well there. Try to keep it real simple. 2 paid newsletters a week. We'll do some free stuff in addition to that of course our subscribers have access to everything we do. We do a game day chat for paid subscribers that's been growing a little bit each week, and it's pretty fun to get in there and chat with like-minded people. So you can check us out at counterread.com. If you're already on Substack, it's super easy to hop on over to our site, our little corner of the newsletter world.
Yep. Yeah. And real quick, Aaron just posted in the chat a photo from the press box of Memorial Stadium, which, checked out the weather, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds out of the south today.
Mm-hmm.
Factor.
So fun.
Nice.
It's a factor.
Big time. Just make sure you win the toss.
Yeah.
I got some breaking news for just Elijah and myself. I don't know if you're monitoring this, Elijah, but Wolves scored 2 goals in extra time.
I've been monitoring it. I've had the stream pulled up, and I've wanted to punch a wall. So,
okay, me too.
For those that are uninformed, Tottenham, they lost their top 2 center backs last week. They also lost their best creative midfielder in James Madison. They had the 1-0 lead. They just had to eke it out. Ainge Postecoglou, that high line, it bit him in the 90th minute and then again in the 96th minute, and it's game over. Tottenham blew it. There goes their chances at the title.
That's tough.
Coming to town here in a couple of weeks. It's
tough.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's tough. I have no idea what the hell you just said, but
yeah,
it sucks.
Now Elijah can fully focus on American football for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I had that game pulled up as well. And
go Spurs.
That's
I like
Spurs.
it.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Folks, enjoy you, bud. Thanks for jumping on with us. Appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Speaking of soccer, Nebraska women's team is like 5th in the country.
Yeah,
right.
The
Playoffs right
South
now?
Dakota State women's team is looking quite forlorn in here eating their breakfast. They just got out of here about 10 minutes ago. But
Who did? South Dakota
the
State?
South Dakota State women's soccer team, they were in here looking quite forlorn.
That's who Nebraska just knocked off yesterday to advance in the NCAA tournament. Is that correct?
Yeah.
This is true. So
the biggest thing that Nebraska's been doing in soccer is kicking the ball in the goal, right? They've been doing that really well. They've been
doing that more than their opponents.
Yeah, you've noticed that? Yep. Connor, that's a great breakdown.
Based off of what I've seen, they have scored more than their opponents, and that's what matters.
Gary,
Wow.
Gary, can you take off the
disgusted.
Hold on. Sharpie, where are you at? Are you back?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Are you?
Yeehaw.
Is it for hoops? You following?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who they got? SMU. They got.
Play TCU on Thursday night. We are in Denton tonight against North Texas.
Before we move any farther, Gary, you got to explain the Buddy Hield gym. I saw that on your Twitter, and that place looks immaculate.
So the head coach of Omaha used to be at Oklahoma, and so the 2 biggest recruits he got were Buddy Hield and Trey Young, and so he stayed in touch with them. And Buddy Hield, who is from the Bahamas, makes his offseason home in Dallas. He's playing for the Indiana Pacers. But in his house, in a really nondescript Dallas neighborhood, it's not a gated community or anything. Now, the houses are impressive, but you just roll through this neighborhood and you pull up, and there's Buddy Hield's house. You get out, you walk basically through a door, and you are into his gym. He has a gym with 4 hoops and all of, it's all decorated with Buddy Hield stuff in his house. And so we went and practiced at his house yesterday.
I love Buddy Hield. Awesome baller.
Yeah, he is. I love the fact that he's from the Bahamas too, which is like an untapped recruiting pipeline. You see some of those dudes on the JUCO circuit, you're like, what the hell? These guys are, there's some really impressive players out of the Bahamas.
We've got Bill Dolman joining us, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. Iron Horse Gary Sharp is in. We're at the home stretch here of the weekend edition here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate Roadshow this morning. Real Red Reaction follows here from the Single Barrel for some of us. Sharpie, Bill, good to have you both in. Thank you. And
I'm only here to request a Journey song dedicated to Mark.
Okay.
Oh, see, you like that
Wow.
term. You missed it, Gary, earlier. Gary
I
might
got
know
beat
this
up
too.
for saying Nebraska's journey's
Yeah.
been interesting, and this is another lesson
Yes.
for him. And Cranack
Yeah.
was off the top rope with 2 steel chairs.
But listen, Journey is reserved for LinkedIn, 23-year-old that just got a new marketing coordinator job, and Bachelor and Bachelorette. Like they have stolen and ruined that word entirely. And you don't bring that crap here.
Accurate with using it this morning.
No, dude, you got to go voyage, expedition, something.
My question is, how much
Death
of the
March.
Bachelor do you watch, Mark? Considering that word has been ruined for you.
You asked me about Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yeah, how much of that do you watch? Considering the word journey has been ruined by that show for you.
All of us have accidentally or been forced into watching that. I haven't
No, we haven't.
intentionally. I haven't intentionally watched it in years. Yes, you have. Shut.
No, I have not.
You have not watched a single 15.
I have not. No. And if she has it on, I go somewhere else.
You know, I do like MILF Manor. You guys watch that one?
What?
Oh, jeez.
Did you say Manor or Hunter?
Manor.
Wow, MILF Manor. I have
you
not.
seen that one?
No.
No.
What, dare I ask what it's on?
I know. Chris is like, yeah. Which streaming service is that? By the way?
I don't think that's on Peacock.
Is it on Peacock?
Is TLC part of the Peacock thing? I don't know. It was on.
Oh my God. MILF Manor.
In this show, 8 single women between the ages of 40 and 60 live in a villa in Mexico to pursue romantic relationships with 8 single men decades younger.
And
but
you
in the
wake
first,
up without a kidney, and
it gets better. In the first episode, the show reveals that the men are all of the women's sons.
This is a Nebraska football pregame show, by the way.
The men are all the women's.
So these 8 MILFs.
Yeah.
Can we not use that term? These 8 middle-aged women are all there trying to find love with younger men.
Well, you could say these 8 cougars.
8 cougars, sure. And they show up and they realize that they're dating all the other women's sons in this show. So they show up and like their son is there, and their son is then dating all the people, the other contestants. Yeah.
So I
I
think
concept.
this is probably a good time to transition and allow, since we have Gary on now.
Yes.
And Bill on to
Oh boy.
get some of their insight. MILFs.
Older women?
Thoughts?
Yeah.
I once lived across the street from a swinger house.
Nice.
Really?
Did they do pineapples? I heard pineapples. Are
That's
a thing.
Highlands Ranch.
No, I always asked my wife, why didn't we get invited?
Yeah. So what is this game going to swing on today, Gary?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a transition.
Yeah.
Who's the fumbler?
On some turtle power.
Yeah.
So here's what I think, and you guys gave the weather right before I came on. The weather's going to be a factor today. It's going to be windy. I think this game will hinge on, take out the obvious of both these teams are turning it over. Both these teams' offenses have kind of hit the wall. I think this game will hinge on Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher, because Maryland is pretty good at still in this rut they're in 4 straight losses. They still throw the ball pretty well. Now they can't run the ball, and that was pretty evident last week. And Baby Tua takes some sacks, so that adds up to some big negative rushing yards. But I think if Nebraska can control the middle of the line of scrimmage, if they can win from tackle to tackle on defense, and really get to, because I think that's where you can get to the Maryland quarterback, then I think Nebraska controls this game and keeps it, where they're not chasing points, because the last thing you want to do is get into a scoring derby with Maryland. And Maryland will take some chances throwing the football, but if you're able to stop them and get to the quarterback up the middle, and of course, do everything with the run game, then, Nebraska's got a chance to win this game playing in a phone booth.
I'm glad Gary mentioned the weather, because as I came in from the outside, it is breezy and brisk right now. And if it stays breezy, it will affect the passing game. It's not just a slight breeze. It's, one of those directional things that where are we going to be in the second and fourth quarters where we have the ball. And I think that's going to have an impact a little bit on what Maryland can do. And as I said yesterday on the show, Nebraska's a 3-3-5. It's going to be predicated on the 5. How well they can cover and lock down on those receivers. And if they can do that, you're right, Gary. Hudmaker is a guy who can, get side to side because he's got speed. And Robinson's got great bull rush up the middle, and you've got those, terrific rush ends that if they can, continue to push them to the sidelines, Nebraska's got a chance. But I think it really comes down to, who's got the wind in the fourth quarter and how well Nebraska's secondary locks down on receivers.
I agree with you, Bill. I think this kind of comes down also, and you're right about the back 5. They were not very good for one of the rare times this year. They got very lazy with their eyes and their coverage, and they had some breakdowns. They were better in the second half, but it was too much in the first half. And, Nebraska hasn't really had back-to-back clunkers this year. So that gives me a little bit of a hope of they're going to be able to respond in kind. But this game might come down to Kevin Sumlin, the offensive coordinator for Maryland, and Marcus Satterfield, the offensive coordinator from Nebraska. I mean, it could be real tempting if you have the wind at your back to all of a sudden start throwing the ball. Or do you go with what your strength is? I think Nebraska running the football today, lining up in the I formation. The quarterback run game, the design runs aren't really effective. But I like their I formation. If they can establish that, there's a lot of things that I think if Nebraska establishes early, guys, I think they have a chance to control the game tempo. This is going to be a tight game. This is a 4-quarter game. But if they can control the tempo and not chase points and have a better feeling, then you get to the fourth quarter, and in that building, it's not so much of a tension convention. You're like, okay, we've seen this before. They'll find a way to win.
Were you surprised a little bit at how Satterfield essentially called Harburg out as running soft lately?
No, but I think you have to be careful. I wonder about the dynamic of how the head coach handles Harburg compared to the offensive coordinator handles Harburg. I think I saw a physical and mental toll that starts to creep in on Harburg last Saturday. I mean, he was running into piles. He didn't see the field. He was very skittish for really the first time. I don't know. I think he's in a weird place right now. So you kind of have to take the ball out of his hands. You have to help him. And you can't say, hey, let's throw the ball 20 yards downfield. I think some intermediate routes, but man, this just feels like a day to run the ball 40 to 45 times. And you've been preaching all week about Emmett Johnson getting touches. Man, could Nebraska have a running back run the ball 20 times today?
Quick little follow-up on that. I was a little bit surprised. Anthony Grant, when he came in last game too, he looked like Anthony Grant second half of last year, where he was dancing and not getting north-south again.
Yeah,
right? Are you kind of seeing the same thing?
I think Anthony Grant is done. It's been a weird year. He hasn't looked like what he looked like last year. The running back rotation is really off. I like some of the things that Satterfield does in terms of their design to get to the outside. But who's in the game at running back is kind of a mystery. But I think Grant is just, I don't think this is going to work out for him. I think we're looking at the final 3 games. I would hope to be wrong because I think there's still 1 game in him. But I don't know. The way he runs, you're right, Mark. He doesn't look like anything close to last year. And this has essentially been a lost year for him. And I don't know where things went south between him and this coaching staff.
And it's a shame, too, because just in terms of sheer talent, that's an NFL back, in terms of talent.
Maybe talent.
Physicality,
I think,
strength, speed.
I think there's some protocol that Anthony hasn't been able to overcome in the day-to-day stuff to get on the good side of the staff.
It's Gary Sharp, weekend edition. Hail Varsity on the road here at the Single Barrel. Bill Dolman in, Mark Kranak, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark, Chris Schmidt, as we get ready for Nebraska, Maryland. And Gary, you're right about the run game. Bill, you're right about just kind of the home field and the wind being pretty key here for Nebraska. But the bigger part that I'm interested in for today is Nebraska applying last week to this week, specifically with the moment and the opportunity. Missed last week. Do they respond the right way? Do they let the magnitude get to them today, or do they learn from last week how to handle what November is?
I would hope that they learned from last week. That it was just not a good. I think that was their worst performance of the season, and that includes the 45-7. Shellacking by Michigan. They were just overmatched in that game, and they lost their confidence early. But to do what they did last week in all 3 or do what they didn't do in all three phases of the game at Michigan State. They have got to rebound. And Gary said Nebraska's not had two bad performances in a row. I think maybe they can go back to Minnesota and that carry over to Colorado, 2 games they would certainly love to have back. But I look for them to rebound. If last week had been a home game, they probably would have practiced on Sunday night again.
Okay. You know what? Here's the thing about last week, and this is you can tell this from guys in the program. Yeah, they didn't play well. I don't think they overlooked Michigan State. We also have to give credit. I thought Michigan State defensively had a really good game plan. Mm-hmm. And also, they had 2 quarterbacks that Nebraska went in that game thinking they're going to turn them over 3 times. They were efficient and they never turned them over. But if you go back and watch that game, there's a lot last Saturday where Nebraska beat themselves. Either the turnovers or Michigan State gave them plenty of opportunities to stay in the game and take control of the game, and Nebraska never seized it. I think another thing that's kind of interesting today is we haven't yet seen this team play with pressure. And there is, let's admit it, don't you guys all agree? There's a little pressure today for Nebraska.
Big time.
Okay? To bounce back from what happened last week, but also to get that magical 6, because I don't know about you. I don't know if you want to go on the road to Wisconsin still searching 6, and then for God's sake to come home where Iowa might be trying to win the West on your field and you got to win to get to 6. I think you have another opportunity that you have to seize today with an opponent that is very much like you and is struggling more than, Maryland is struggling. There is no doubt. They don't play well on the road under Loxley. They don't play well in November. So take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you and get that off the slate that you've finally gotten bowl eligible, and then you can focus on the last 2 games.
Gary, you were so right.
We've talked about the offense plenty on this show already back in the first hour with Brandon, here with you. But to flip it around to the defense, they didn't have their best day last week. And I want to get your thoughts on what a successful day today looks for the Husker defense in order to set this team up with a chance at victory, because we know the defense is going to have to make some big plays. But what exactly does that look like in your mind?
Well, 2 things. Mark brought it up a little bit ago about the back 5 have to play well today. I mean, they're going to be tested. This is the 3rd best quarterback that they've faced. So they're going to have to make plays on 50-50 balls. And I also think Nebraska needs their better players to play well. Guys, the opening drive for Michigan State, 2 guys that have played really well, Newsom and Gifford, had breakdowns that resulted in a 17-yard pass play and then a 42, 46-yard pass play. And all of a sudden you're going, whoa, what's going on? And we haven't seen this for a while. So I think Nebraska's top-end guys on defense need to play well today and make plays when they have an opportunity to make plays. And here's another thing. Maryland's going to turn the ball over. Nebraska's going to turn the ball over. When do those happen? And if you have an opportunity to get them, you got to get them either to knock out a football or on a 50-50 ball to knock it down or pick it off.
Part of Nebraska's success is going to have to be, you mentioned it, Elijah, saying this isn't, that wasn't Nebraska's best performance last week, but they held serve, right? They were fine.
The second half, they were better.
Yeah. They held serve. They play well enough to win football games. They've done that almost every time, save for the 4th quarter against Colorado. And then when Michigan State knew their plays, or Michigan knew their plays. But they have to be more than that. They have to be, in order for Nebraska to win with how inept they are on offense, the defense has to be in the plus column. They can't just hold serve. Right? They have to make some off-script plays. They have to get turnovers. They have to get picks. They have to have huge hits. They have to get pressure. It's just not enough to hold serve. Do you think Nebraska, because Gary, Tony White kind of called this out and called himself out, they got very little pressure on Michigan State last week. That was probably their worst pressure game. Is that concerning moving forward, or do you think that was maybe just an off game?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I think today is a little bit different because Maryland has had trouble controlling the line of scrimmage. But I also think here's the thing that I think this is a good moment for Nebraska, because don't you guys all think today's like the day you learn a lot about your coaching staff? Because, Nebraska's an underdog, and they're playing at home against a team that has a similar record but has lost 4 in a row and has fallen off the map since the second half against Ohio State. And you're going, what's going on here? Okay, don't let last week beat you, whether it be a play call you had or the mentality of the team. So I think we learned a lot about this coaching staff. I think we have a good handle on the way this year has gone. But this is like a special day of, okay, we learned our lesson against Michigan State. Don't fool me again. So I think there'll be some new wrinkles, but I especially think, man, you guys, we've seen him now for almost a whole year. Isn't it interesting? A mild-mannered guy like Tony White in front of the media. Now in front of his players, we know that he can get a little salty and he can get after it. And they've got great respect for him. But when he's agitated and angry, the other day, didn't on Tuesday, all of you just like sit up in your seat and go, whoa, he's not happy. That must bode well for Nebraska today and not so well for Maryland.
He's had a couple of those.
Yeah.
This week was more, that was the peak, right? But there have been a couple of times when we've been reading between the lines, I think, on Tony White press conferences, like, wow, I don't think he's really happy there. And he sounds a little agitated. And this week was like, now we're writing in a big chief tablet. You can see everything that I'm thinking right now.
Guys, going to dive in on Michigan for a moment. I want to get both of your perspectives. Kranak jump in too. Elijah and Connor and I really beat it up yesterday, and Bogues also checked in on it. But do you think there's a 12th hour Hail Mary that's tipped and caught where Jimbo's on the sideline, or is he banned to the bus at best today? I'll let you start, Sharpie.
I think that when they leave for the stadium, I think I've heard in the next 10 minutes, he won't be on the bus. I think he's out for the next.
He's in his room pouting.
Yeah. Okay. Don't you guys think though it is more powerful for him not to be there than to be there? If you're going off all of the players basically going, it's us against the world.
Yeah, that's fair.
Something tells me he'll still be on a Zoom call with the coaches in the box.
He'll find a way to be on the Jumbotron.
I stand by what I said yesterday. This has been comical. It continues to be comical. But if you're going to punish them, they should have punished the coordinators and let Harbaugh do the whole thing by himself. And let him be there. And again, the punishment is not Jim Harbaugh. It's the University of Michigan who is being punished by not allowing their head coach to be on the sidelines. But again, I say take out the coordinators because they've been involved in this whole thing as well, and make Harbaugh do the coaching. But I think that this is a rallying point for Michigan. If he's not there, that they're going to play for Jim, and they're going to wear khaki colored pants in honor of him. And I think that's what the direction is. I assume that I just saw Desmond Howard on game day. Or on SportsCenter or something. I assume he was saying that Michigan should be kicked out of the Big Ten. I'm not quite sure.
Logical.
Well, the report yesterday, Michigan may leave of their own accord. Where are they going?
Yeah.
Listen.
What are they going to do? Big 12, or the ACC with Notre Dame.
Well, good luck getting out of your binding agreement with the Big Ten right now. Like, you want to pay hundreds of millions of dollars.
But they're rolling their sleeves up and saying to the Big Ten and the commissioner, they're asking to play chicken. They're going to get into legal fights with him.
He'll be on the sidelines for Ohio State. That's when the injunction will come down.
And that's fine. Listen,
the Michigan fans will revolt if they don't get the game at the end of the year against Ohio State, which is what would happen if they leave the Big Ten. Their fans would revolt if they ever left the Big Ten conference.
You know what? All of this discussion that we've all done for now a couple of weeks, it all goes by the wayside if Penn State wins today.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
We don't care. Do we care about the suspension if Michigan has a loss on their ledger?
This is also what I said yesterday on Schmitty and Elijah's show. You were going to hear this a lot today. Holding Michigan was out of the foul. Pass interference, Michigan. Foul. Sideline interference, Michigan. Unsportsmanlike face mask.
It is going to be A&M 2010 all over again. Grab the vest.
They reassigned last week's Michigan State crew to
how about this one? After review, the call in the field stands as called.
Now, listen. Hey, there's been a lot of debate about the validity and what do you do in this situation. Don't punish the players. You shouldn't do that. And, make sure. Did Harbaugh even know? But if you have any questions about the validity of these allegations, think about this for a second. The coaching fraternity is pretty tight, right? Like, they generally don't throw each other under the bus unless it's warranted. It is pretty much unanimous. The coaching fraternity is like, no, one step too far. Yeah. This is ridiculous. Openly calling him out. And because people are like, oh, everybody steals signs. Well, You're not gonna.
How do you get them? How do you distribute them?
Yeah, you're not gonna call it out if you got your own skeletons in the closet that are of equal proportion. You're not being all vocal about this and calling Harbaugh out, man. There's really something to it. The fellow coaches are pissed off.
Yeah, that shows you he's rankled a lot of people in his career. It shows you he doesn't have a lot of friends in this profession, because when 13 of 14 coaches in your own conference are like, not today, pal. There might be one or two guys that stand up and they be very neutral, but I think 13 of 14 are against him. That shows you a lot about Harbaugh. But I don't know. I don't know if the Big Ten comes out a winner in this. It's just the whole thing has been just almost, I'm going to say a debacle, but it's just been mishandled. It's just been sloppy. And it's led to people are fighting and stuff. Maybe for 3 hours today, we get the football part of it.
Big game.
And then we go back to talking about Harbaugh.
Big game for Franklin too, though. I mean, if you're ever going to get Michigan, you're ever going to take Michigan down, this is your second, this is your mulligan here, because you didn't handle Ohio State. I mean, 10-2 is awesome, but not there. Okay, not there if you keep losing to Michigan and Ohio State. If you're James Franklin.
Yeah. I mean, they're playing a top 10 team, so you know what that does for Penn State. They'll run on fourth and 5. Franklin will probably run the ball.
You mentioned that Harbaugh doesn't have a lot of friends in the conference. I don't think he's capable of friendships, is he? Like,
he's just a weird dude.
Yeah, like all the dudes that you would want to have a beer with out of the coaching staffs in the Big Ten. Like, he's the last one, right? You're not going to have a beer with Harbaugh, because it would get really weird after about 7 minutes. Wouldn't it?
I might for the experience, but just once.
The guy strikes you as a close talker after a couple of beers, right? The kind of guy that really gets up in your grill but doesn't kind of think about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he lacks social norms, social cues. He does not have that stuff down. Like, you're right. He's within that 18 inches of space. He's got Blau probably, because
the guy at the bar that really leans into your bubble when he's talking to you. Yeah.
Hey, you know what's ironic too?
This is a great segment.
He's the sign stealing guy. He's so paranoid that, remember when they came to town, he bought out the whole Graduate.
Well, he took down our signs.
He was so paranoid about sign stealing that nobody around Lincoln could come into the Graduate Hotel while they rent out. That's how paranoid he was that somebody might steal signs.
Yeah, it's a strange cat.
And he took our signs down.
But he'll be the Bears head
Put
coach
him back
next
week.
Right?
Yeah, and that'll go well. Sharpie, give me a prediction. Kranak, I need a prediction before we wrap up.
I think Nebraska finds a way to win. I got them 23-21.
Okay, 23-21. The outright win for the 2-point underdog to Big Red. Kranak, what say you?
I'm going to +1 on Gary. That's exactly where I was. I think it's a field goal game. I think when Nebraska has the wind at its back, Alvano's going to come through with a few. And yeah, I think Nebraska limits the possessions of Maryland, and that's why they're able to keep them at 21.
All right. Guys, appreciate it. Weekend edition going to wrap up, and the Real Red Reaction follows here from the Graduate on KFOR. We'll be ready to go around 2:30 or when the game wraps up. Sharpie, enjoy Texas. Thanks for making time.
Thanks, everybody, and enjoy your $5.99. Don't forget to cancel, too.
on the Peacock.
Great point. That's a great point.
Bill, appreciate you.
All right, brother.
Thanks.
You can DM me on Twitter if you want some options that are not $5.99 a month.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
come on.
You're going OJ here with the free cable, aren't you?
I serve the people of Nebraska.
Elijah Herbal.
FBI, you're on notice.
What are they going to do? Arrest me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they will.
To the cable cops.
Just daring them to do that.
Elijah, you have broken
Peacock's
copyright.
a pretty good service, by the way. I will. If somebody's been on there, I think that's a pretty good channel.
Subscribe and be able to watch Bill.
Yeah,
I think Bill gets a cut is basically what we're hearing here. Bill,
not anymore.
Bill, this is in your pension, right? You get a little bit of yeah.
Guys, we'll talk
Happy to
a
support
little bit
you.
later on and get ready for Nebraska-Maryland. Thanks for tuning in to Hail Varsity Weekend, and we'll talk to you next time.
$1 for Bill. Subscribe to Peacock.